a certified flight instructor, so the information I give you is for fun and basic knowledge, not in any way or shape or form to be used as something to get your private pilot's license with, and it's not intended to be ground school. But it will give you some great information to help you both in your building of aircraft and also to give you some ideas of how aviation in real world works and the differences between real world and Second Life. So we're going to talk about control surfaces. There's a number of control surfaces on aircraft depending on their complexity, and all of them of course have some effect on the flight dynamics of that particular aircraft. So let's look, and I'll explain each one of these as we go on, but we're going to kind of just take a quick overview by looking at the F4 Phantom. It's on the top of the picture that's on your screen. So we've got, now they're calling these flaps, but on the leading edge, those are actually leading edge slats. We don't call them flaps. So this diagram is actually incorrect. The flaps are actually on the trailing edge. And then we have ailerons, of course, one on each side. They move opposite of each other. We have spoilers, which kill the lift on the wing. We have rudder, which controls yaw. We have elevator, which controls pitch. So those are the basic control surfaces. Now we're going to talk about how to build those here in a few minutes, but I want to first talk about what they do. So let's talk about, let me go ahead and pull this P40 up in the air so that we can get a good picture of what each control surface does by moving this airplane around a little bit. Let's talk about the rudder first. Rudder controls yaw, and yaw is the nose moving back and forth like this. Can everybody see? The aircraft moving left and right, that's yaw. Okay. Now pitch is the upward and downward movement. So this is pitch. This is controlled by the elevator. If I pull back on the stick, the nose wants to go up. If I push forward on the stick, the nose wants to go down. Okay? So that's pitch. Now roll is the axis on from the nose to the tail. Roll is this direction. So this is rolling the airplane. I can roll it left or I can roll it right. It's on the horizontal axis of the center line through the aircraft. Okay, so that's roll. So we talk about pitch, roll, and yaw. Now what do flaps do? Flaps do two things, and they're the surfaces that you see on the bottom of this fuselage. And I'll raise the nose slightly so you can see them. You can see the flaps are underneath. The flaps do a couple of things. During takeoff, they'll give you extra lift because they increase the camber of the wing. And we usually talk about the lift characteristics of flaps when we're between 10 and 20 degrees. 30 and 40 degrees create drag, so that allows you to slow the airplane down. It also decreases the stall speed of the aircraft so that you can get it slower and be able to land at a more reasonable speed. Otherwise, aircraft like this P40 would have to land way above the normal stall speed, which is pretty fast. You'd have a hell of a time getting it on the ground. So that's why we use flaps, to help us be able to slow down. And also when we have a heavy load for takeoff, or we're trying to take off in a shorter distance, and we'll use 10 to 15 degrees flaps for takeoff so that we can get the aircraft airborne just a little bit sooner and not have to worry about stalling it out. Okay, now leading edge slats, which you'll see on the jets, those are used to also increase the camber of the wing. They're used to get the aircraft down on the ground. It helps it to slow flight. So similar to flaps in some ways, but really more for increasing the camber or the lift characteristics of the wing. And you'll see those used on not only military aircraft, but some civilian, particularly ones that are used basically experimental aircraft. So you'll see leading edge slats in more than just military aircraft. Okay, so let's get in just a little bit more detail. When we talked about pre-flighting the aircraft a while ago, we used Cessna 182 for that purpose, and we talked about that when we're sitting, after we've run the engine up, we're sitting at the edge of the runway, or I mean in the run-up area, and we want to make sure our controls are free and correct. Now, in order to do that, of course, we're going to have to move the control surfaces. Now I'm going to jump in this bird, and hopefully you can see these move. I'm going to put the flaps up, because we always want to put the flaps up for takeoff unless we're doing a short field. Now in Second Life, I haven't scripted the flaps to work as lift. I'm working on that. Right now they only give you drag, so you don't want to use the flaps on takeoff. You just want to use them for landings. All right, and then of course rudder. Let me move my camera a little bit forward here because I'm having problems seeing the airplane. Now you can see rudder moves left and right. Okay, so let's say we're making a left turn. Well, we want to kick our left rudder, and you'll notice that the rudder changes directions, and it's actually